Welcome to Newsmakers. I'm Andrew Donovan. Work on the Micron site in the town of Clay is moving fast and furiously since ground was broken not even 3 months ago. And everyone's focus remains seeing action at that site. Joining me now is Micron executive, the vice president for U.S. expansion, Scott Gatzemeier. Scott, welcome back to Newsmakers.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
I'm always grateful when you can make time to sit down with us, because what you're focused on is really what people want to see, and that is this project getting up off the ground, literally. So we really appreciate the updates that you're about to give us. Micron is just off a community week where a lot of your team was in so many places around town announcing new money, engaging in career fairs and STEM events for kids. What was that week like?
Yeah, incredibly exciting. It's incredibly exciting to see Micron in the community and making a difference. We announced $35 million worth of community investments in the state of New York around housing, daycare, transportation, and training for skilled craft and STEM employees. So it's very exciting. And then it was great to see the Micron team members out in the community. I was able to go out to a food bank here and volunteer, and it's just a lot of fun to be a part of the community.
Yeah, there's always news related to Micron. Another thing we've been watching closely is the financial picture, and there's been a lot of success. You're making a lot of big headlines on Wall Street. Talk about the recent revenue and kind of the proof that the work you're doing is needed and you need to keep going.
Yeah, no, it's incredibly exciting times at Micron right now. Our last quarter, we just had record revenue, record gross margin, and record free cash flow, which is fantastic for the company, and it's really being driven by the AI revolution that's occurring right in front of us. Micron, as we've discussed before, in memory is at the heart of AI, and that's driving huge demand for our projects, which in turn drives huge demand for our manufacturing plant that we're building right here in Clay, New York.
This is great news for shareholders, but what does that success show the community? How does it help perhaps prove that this will happen, it needs to happen?
Well, we've been talking a lot about, this AI and semiconductor resurgence in America and the demand for these chips. That's what enabled, these fabs to occur. And so this great market conditions, the high demand, is what's required for us to build out these new fabs. And so, as you mentioned, a few months ago we broke ground, and I'm pleased to report that we actually completed the tree clearing on 330 acres over 40 days ahead of schedule. The grubbing is near complete, and so we're moving very fast. And we want to continue to be ahead of schedule on this project because our customers want more and more memory.
Well, let's talk about the work happening right at the site. We know trees are down. Did you expect that early accomplishment, or were you worried you'd get close to the deadline?
Well, we were absolutely worried we'd get close, and so we were pushing it. And that's one of the things, I think, being on the hook to deliver these, you're always worried. You're always stressed, and you want to stay ahead of it the full way. I'm super proud of the team and all the work they did. The other thing I will say is we had some weather that was in our favor as well that helped us to achieve this milestone. But we don't want to give up the 40 days that we're ahead. We want to continue to push and continue to grow this project.
Weather in favor, because I think the town of Clay explained to me that the snowpack actually helped build somewhat of a base for those tree clearing machines. But does muddy conditions and rain actually hurt the next part of the work a little bit? Slow it down maybe?
Yeah, we'll be bringing in over 4 million cubic yards of fill to do this, and we've started construction on the rail spur to limit traffic on those roads and truck hauling as well. So yeah, muddy conditions would hold us back, but the team is prepared for it, and we're continuing to work on that. The other thing is a lot of those trees that we cleared, we've actually ground them down, and we're using them as matting to help with the mud on the soil as well. So being able to repurpose it.
People were fascinated to know what you're doing with all the trees. So and I've learned from your team that they basically get turned into chips.
Yeah.
Not computer chips, but wood chips,
Different
right?
kind of chips.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. Okay, so trees are down. Now you do grubbing and remove the stumps and smaller brush. Take me through the next year of work there. What will people see?
Then we'll be bringing in a lot of fill, dirt, and then we'll be building the rail spurs. So you see rail lines coming in, bringing in that fill dirt, large earth working equipment to get the ground level to the elevation that we need to start pouring concrete and doing that. In addition, we're doing significant design reviews with our engineering companies. Gilbane is our pre-construction engineering firm. They've opened up an office in downtown Syracuse as well, so incredibly excited to be partnering with them on this project. And then hoping to pour concrete later this year on the project and start to go vertical.
You talk about the fill and basically leveling off the land. If I'm remembering correctly, the precision of basically slope or lack of slope that you need to achieve is pretty momentous.
Yeah. So when you look at these fabs in the precision that goes into the engineering that we need to do, the first thing is the technology, what we call overlay, which is how the layers stack on top of each other. Those tolerances are in the angstrom level tolerances. So any vibration that we have or anything like that can dramatically impact it. The other thing is the base of these fabs will be 1.1 million square feet in dimension, and they've got planarity levers that we have to have there as well, so all of that equipment can feed in.
In terms of workers at the site related to construction, it seems the number has grown since groundbreaking. Will it continue to grow? Will you need more people?
Yes, absolutely. It will continue to grow, and we estimate it growing up to 2,500 workers by the end of this year. And that's why we're partnering to bring in so many skills, partnering with different local unions and trades developments to ensure that as many local Syracuse area, Onondaga area natives can take advantage of these opportunities in front of us.
One of the events at Community Week was for construction workers, recruiting,
exactly.
right?
Skilled craft. I was talking with a lot of our team who was out there last week, and they said it was a very good event, and a lot of the team a lot of the people who were there were incredibly excited to come work for us, not only in construction, but also in our fab long term, and they want to start tomorrow. So what I told a lot of them is, well, apply for jobs in Boise or Virginia, go work at one of our other locations for a couple of years, and then come back to, our clay fab with a head start on what we're going to build.
I know you and the county and the state of New York all have been in the same direction, focusing on making sure there are enough workers. How do you feel about that work as it sits today?
I think it's been going great, and it's a great example of, public-private partnership and how we're able to drive this forward. Right now, we're estimating that for the first fab, we'll be able to source 80% of our construction workers locally, which is outstanding. And that's why we're so big in the community, why we're working with Syracuse Builds, the local unions, to really ensure that local Central New York people know about these opportunities in front of them so they're able to capitalize on it.
All right, we have a lot to get to. We'll take our first break. Scott Gatzemeier from Micron is our guest on Newsmakers. We're back after this. Newsmakers is back. Our guest this week is Scott Gatzemeier from Micron. There's a huge team of Micron across the board, executives, people doing the work every day in the town of Clay, but Scott is somewhat responsible for it all. The pressure's on you to get this thing built, and that's why you're such a special guest, and we appreciate your time. Recently, the Onondaga County executive announced two what he calls supply chain companies committing to Onondaga County. It's the first Micron spin-offs, so to speak, that have been long promised, but finally those names are out there. One is Target Hospitality, but another company, Wanik Materials, is a company that Micron's already worked with. Tell us a little bit about that partnership already.
Yeah, so no, incredibly excited to see this happening, and it's what we've been saying is, if you build it, they will come, right? And so if you build the fab, the supply chain will follow. And so Wanik is a key material supplier to Micron. We're very excited to see them join us here in Syracuse, New York. It's also where we're excited to see Ryan McMahon and his vision for the White Pine supplier park right across the road from the Micron site. If you look at where we're located all around the world, right next to us, there is Micron supply chain companies. And so very excited to see them start to come, and I'm hoping this is the first of many.
When one of the final documents about the environmental review came out, it was realized that Micron's construction schedule had shifted from an initial schedule. And some of my notes here, instead of taking 2 years, the first building is now slated to take at least 4. and then construction of the second fab would be delayed from mid-28 to the end of 2030. That obviously let some people down. I'm just wondering why this shift and how you maybe recoup some confidence lost when people actually read that.
Yeah. Well, I think first, you know, if you look at it, we've always said that we would ramp these in line with market conditions. Now market conditions, as we discussed, are incredibly good, and we want to go as fast as we possibly can. The environmental review, you know, the last time you and I talked was 2 years ago. It was a very extensive, one of the most extensive environmental reviews ever done in the state of New York, over 20,000 pages. A lot of great partnership between the federal, state, and local teams, our team, and world-class experts in their field, in contractors that we brought on to help us with this. Very proud and committed of that, but it took longer than we anticipated. Now that we've broken ground, we just cleared the trees 40 days ahead of schedule. You're seeing work commence and move. We want to go as fast as we possibly can on the first fab. I'd also add, I think that we learned a lot as we build in Boise, Idaho, because we're following what we've built there here. And so that will help us to build this fab faster. And then the second fab will follow on.
Did the shift happen not only because of the environmental delay, but is it taking longer to build in Boise, Idaho than you had hoped?
It is taking longer to build out these fabs.
Yeah. I hope to get back to Boise, Idaho to see that fab, because when I see video from it, it just is inspirational to see what will eventually rise from the ground in the town of Clay. How's that project going overall and back at your headquarters?
Now it's going great. We're moving very, very fast. We actually recently hit a major milestone in March called blowdown, where we were able to start circulating air in a portion of that clean room, getting it clean and getting the particles down to where they need to be. We will be installing equipment later this year, and then still on track to have wafer outs in the middle of 2027.
Somehow you're not only worried about the Clay project, you're also worried about the Boise, Idaho project.
We have a great team, so it's not just me, and that's what enables us to do all this.
Back at the Clay project, a key piece of early construction this year will be the rail spur, which is basically an offshoot of the existing rail line that will allow Micron to ship in materials. You mentioned Phil specifically. Yeah. What's the status of that? I know it was supposed to start really quick and then be done really quick.
Yep. It's moving and progressing as we speak, and so very excited about it. One of the reasons why we're doing a rail spur is because we have a traffic plan and we want to limit the number of trucks on the road, and by using that rail spur to bring in all of that dirt work that we talked about and other heavy equipment, we can limit the number of trucks on the road, limit the disruption to the local community, because we want to be good partners and we're going to be here for a very long time.
Despite that, I do know neighbors are concerned about the amount of truck traffic, the noise level. What would you tell people nervous about that? I think some people are understanding routes have even shifted since an initial plan. I haven't been able to check that with anyone, but what would you say to people worried about truck traffic?
Yeah, we're working with the town of Clay constantly on that, and as I mentioned, we want to be good neighbors. We're going to be here for a long time, and so we'll continue to work with them on all of those issues.
What would you say to the people worried? Will they see trucks too close to their neighborhoods?
We're going to work on it. We'll listen to concerns, but it is one of the things about progress and about growth is things change and things need to be done.
And it sounds like perhaps none of this is set in stone. The timeline isn't set in stone. A truck route perhaps might not be. So if you get feedback that you're able...
If we get feedback, we'll work to mitigate those specific issues. Absolutely.
Thank you for that. Part of being a good neighbor is stewardship of the environment. I know that for as many years as you've looked at this project, your team and other teams have looked at water usage, energy usage. A lot of that research happened already, but how do you stay on top of evolving environmental concerns, evolving technologies? How do you keep your impact up to date, so to speak, or lack of impact in terms of environment, negative related things?
Yeah, one of the nice things is we're building this fab new, and we'll be using all state-of-the-art equipment in it, and we're looking to build one, if not the most sustainable fab in the world right here in Clay, New York. So if you look at things like water, we treat that as a very precious resource. And so we'll bring in the water will be recycled on our campus, used for multiple purposes, and we're targeting a 75% recycling rate on the campus, which is one of the highest in the semiconductor industry. For power, anything we can do to save power, looking at variable speed drives, heat recapture boilers, other things like that to reduce the power footprint, we're putting all of that technology into our fabs as well and staying on the cutting edge. The other thing, when you look at our technology and how we develop our technology, you talk about the power usage of data centers or other things like that. Well, every new generation of memory technology that we develop, we improve the power, we improve the speed, and we improve the density. And so if you look at 15% power reduction on our technology after technology, right now with us being the technology leader, our high bandwidth memory that goes into AI data centers has a 30% lower power consumption than our competitors' products. So that's how we help with that power, besides not just the power we use to make our chips, but also after they're out in the industry.
There's a couple of points there I want to open up a little further. One, the Micron site is not a data center. So anyone that hears Micron related to AI, related to, a data center consumes all this energy, Micron is not that.
Yeah.
You are not related to AI in terms of producing AI. You provide the chips that help AI companies produce AI.
Yeah, a good analogy for AI is a layer cake. So if you look at the foundation of that layer cake, it's the infrastructure that's required to manufacture anything, if you will. So power, water, natural gas, and those are out there in the infrastructure, roads, to enable industry to occur. Then the next layer of that cake would be semiconductors. You've got your GPUs, you have your memory, which are both critical to be able to build that. Then the next layer on top of that would be the data centers that use those GPUs, memory, to enable the compute power. And then on the top layer, you would have all of your applications that enable AI. So your large language models, other modeling, and all of that stuff that sits at that top layer. So that's how Micron is right there in the middle in the semiconductor development, layer of that layer cake, if you think about the AI infrastructure that needs to be enabled.
So to clear up anyone with the wrong interpretation, Micron is not building a data center.
We are not building a data center.
In any way, shape, or form. And you're even saying that as your product evolves, becomes a newer, more modern product, it's actually helping data centers consume less energy.
Yes, it's helping them consume less energy. It also increases the speed, which helps them to get more compute, right, or more tokens, if you will, out of those data centers. So now they need fewer data centers, if you look at it that way as well.
If I'm reading the pulse of Central New York accurately, there's a lot of angst right now about utility prices. And people see Micron coming online at the same time utility prices seem to be skyrocketing. I just wonder what you would say to people who might conflate the two projects. I know they have nothing to do with one another.
Yeah.
But as you also, Micron will be a consumer of energy, watching energy prices, but also this opportunity for Central New York to expand how it produces energy, whether it's more nuclear power in parts of the state, like the governor's promise. What would you say kind of in the context of all of those notes?
I would say we're an all-in on the energy generation. One of the reasons why we chose this area of New York is because it's 80% of the energy that's produced here is carbon-free energy. And so we're very much encouraged by that. The other thing is there was a 345 kV substation right across the street, so very reliable. So we're partnering with the governor and her team on energy generation across that. And then on water, the recent Aqua project, it's a great partnership where we're looking at building out more robust water transportation or water pipe to the city here, that will service more than just Micron, but the entire community.
Yeah. All right, we'll take another break. More with Scott Gatzemeier from Micron when Newsmakers continues. We have just a few moments left with Scott Gatzemeier from Micron. You've been around this community to know there's a lot of excitement about this project. There's still some doubters. But what would you say to people who question if this project happens as promised, and when it does, how things might change here, how you keep the character that even you all have fallen in love with?
Yeah. I would say the closest example I would have is Boise, Idaho, where, you know, it's a smaller town, mid-market, very similar to Syracuse, and you've got an unbelievable employer there in Micron, creating good jobs. If you look at Boise State University, it's been able to grow engineering. You know, they now have a PhD in materials science, and it creates a lot of opportunity for young people. And so if you look at Syracuse being such a vibrant community, you've got Syracuse University right here, Onondaga Community College, the ability for, you know, these graduates and people to take advantage of these opportunities, and then the supply chain that'll come with it, all of the other jobs, all of the other restaurants, opportunities that come with this, it's something to celebrate and be incredibly excited about. And I'm very excited about the future.
Is there something this community can do more of to benefit the Micron project?
The community has been super whelming, great partners across the board. I'm always happy to come here and visit, sit down with you, and so we just really are grateful for them being so welcoming to us.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate the time. Congratulations on Community Week and getting those trees down so fast. You didn't take a saw yourself to it, did you?
No.
No? All right.
Right.
Scott Gatzemeier from Micron, thank you so much. We'll have a final word from Newsmakers right after this. Those of you looking for a job at Micron will post the link at localsyr.com. That does it for Newsmakers. For all the hardworking people of News Channel 9, have a great weekend.
Download the WSYR Plus app on your TV to stream News Channel 9 for free. Just go to your smart TV, search WSYR Plus in the App Store, and download to start streaming today.